Hi friends, my name is host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People, and I'd like to quickly and efficiently go through the topic of cognitive functions as understood when we talk about them as subjects, objects, and agents.
Talking with famous people.
When we treat it as an object of analysis, we tend to position it through one of three angles without really knowing that we're doing that a lot of times. And it's kind of important because it plays a big role in how cognitive function mechanics work. So let's look at this chart.
Extroverted Sensing, SE.
SE. As a subject, it seizes opportunities. That's how it links with NI. In other words, NI tells what the opportunity is, and SE seizes it. And it follows through on plans. It gets the plans from the SI, and it follows through on them. That's what the SE attention is. As an object, getting hit by a stick, you are subject to somebody else's SE, but you're experiencing it via SI. So there's a linkage there, right? As an object, if action ends discussion, then I'm experiencing it as essentially a hit to my NE. I'm the object of the SE, not the subject. Now, the agency one is a little bit more challenging because we're used to there being subjects and objects in English grammar, but not agents per se. If we want to convey agency, we simply say a given subject observed, grammatically. But of course, the person's not a subject then, in a philosophical or semantic sense, just grammatically. To be an agent, using extroverted sensing, is to have an opportunity radar, that's going to link again to NI, and a general valuing of impact. And that's where you really say, okay, this is exclusively SE.
Extroverted Intuition, NE.
Let's go down to the second function, extroverted intuition. As a subject, it ideates, and it's going to ideate against a metric of NI, so that's where the NI comes from. It's going to tell anecdotes. That's going to get those anecdotes from its SI. All right, because being an NE-DOM implies a certain relationship with those other three functions. So, as an object, if you're surprised by a joke, your SI has not expected this, and it makes you laugh, you're the object of somebody's extroverted intuition. If you're judging something as derivative, you might have encountered somebody else's extroverted intuition object, and your own NI will say, no, not good, not novel enough. So you can evaluate media objects on that metric, so to speak, right? As an agent, you would identify new ideas in the world and value novelty.
Extroverted Thinking, TE.
TE solves public problems, FE, that's how it links to FE. Generates standard operating procedures, that's how it links to TI. Things need to be consistent linguistically to be rendered useful for multiple people as a standard operating procedure they can apply. As an object, TE, you have to start over because you forgot step one. You're the object of your own bad TE there, right? Or you get tech support from somebody. You're the object of somebody else's TE and your problem for you. And that links obviously to FE. As an agent, designates objects, language, things, situations as belonging under the frame of meow goal or meow problem. That's depending on the person's FI as to what problems and goals are important to them. It values efficiency. That links to TE. That's what TE values. Talk about TE by itself. We're going to talk about it in the agent frame as what it values. In other capacities, it's got to engage with the implied relationed other function necessarily, definitionally. FE, as a subject, purposely hurt, boost someone's feelings. That links to FI. You have to understand feelings to do that. And the heuristic defaults of consensus or experts. That links to TE. TE has a tendency to do the same thing there. As an object, have perceptions moved by another's FE-driven behavior. So if you are successfully schmoozed or flattered into doing something, you have been the object of somebody else's FE. You receive a thoughtful gift that you often use thereafter. If that's the case, you've been the object of somebody's thoughtful FE that links to TE. Like my daughter has gotten me some gifts that I use all the time and I'm very grateful for, including the tripod that I currently have the phone on. Okay. Now, FE as an agent, observing that someone's officially mad about meow, but actually just their feelings got hurt about meow, that's a TI linking kind of FE. I see an inconsistency with the person's words and the actuality. I understand the actuality to be an FI thing. They're positioning it as some sort of T thing. And for values, setting aside personal concerns for the good of the team and affirmation of the group, those are FE values implicit to FE. You don't have to talk about any other function to get the values there. Okay.
Introverted Feeling. FI.
FI prevents harm. That links to FE. It's how the person who's FI takes action. So if you are a mother with a newborn baby and you see your baby's in danger and you do some sort of superhuman whatever to save the baby, then that's preventing harm, right? Links to FE simply in that FE will validate that, expects that of somebody who loves somebody else, to prevent harm to them. It also defends nonconformity, though, and in that regard is consistent with its TI, other deliberation function. Someone hurts my feelings. That's me being the object of FI. You might say, well, you're the object of FE. Well, no, my FI is functioning as an object. In other words, I got kicked and I experienced pain. I'm the object of the kick, right? Well, the same thing is true of emotions, at least some of the time. You might say, well, the other person's not responsible for your emotions, but that's kind of bullshit. It's not really factoring in reality. People can be explicitly, overtly cruel and mean to others, and in fact, they are responsible for their negative feelings. So, okay. I feel guilty because I produce outcomes I regret producing. This is something I experience a lot. I may be correct, but I still end up thinking the TE things maybe are more important, that I should have prioritized outcomes more than being correct, etc. FI as an agent. I know what to do, choose, decide because of how that choice, action, determination will make me feel later. That links to TE. And it values authenticity. That's FI's fundamental core position, is that people's feelings are their authentic selves, and that ultimately that's what matters most.
Introverted Thinking. TI.
On the TI grounds, ask questions, that's being subject, clarify meanings by asking questions, that's links to FI. They're saying, okay, I want to, in this sense, challenge the FI to express itself more precisely. And to request justifications, it links to TE, which has a tendency to not feel a need to justify themselves except through FI, right? The TI user in or validates words that engage the TI user by checking them for consistency within itself and against axioms. So if you're working as an object, you've encountered words, and you are the object of those words, and you are checking to see how you should respond, or whether you should incorporate them as true or dismiss them. The same for physical conditional systems like circuit boards is how it links to TE. There's not a whole lot of this. TI is mostly about language, but there are conditional physical systems like circuit boards where the same logic applies. Keeping an eye on your public behavior while keeping track of your positions to make sure you aren't subject to critique for hypocrisy. This is being TI as an agent. And it says here it links to FE. Obviously, it links somewhat to SI as well. But that's not on the axes for TI, so, how much that's a factor depends on where it is in your step. Values, fairness, and correctness. This is the most implicit and fundamentally TI thing. Okay, now we only got two more to go. SI.
Introverted Sensing. SI.
SI as a subject, checks the weather, brings a jacket. That's an SE kind of linkage. Provides explanatory examples. That's an any kind of linkage. So, in other words, why do you think this, Eric? Well, here are some examples from my life that were consistent with this, right? SI as an object, stubs toe. The pain you experience is the SI as an object. The stubbing the toe would suggest that your SE is, you're not attending as much to your sensory environment and things like avoiding stubbing your toe as somebody who has the sensory function higher in the stack. If you are moved to goosebumps by a great song, that is SI and NI getting together. NI is knowing the greatness of it. SI is experiencing it physically in the form of goosebumps. So now let's finish SI. Knowing where all your physical resources are. This is you as an agent and in what condition, considering what might need updating. Do we need more cottage cheese? That links to NE. SI-NE. And then, of course, the core of SI is the value, familiarity, and the utility of accumulated resources.
Introverted Intuition. NI.
NI, as a subject, states the obvious, SE, predicts pattern development, NE. And the reason for this is you've got to see how evolving possibilities generalize out well to do this sort of thing. And of course, the same thing as before, move to goosebumps by a compelling melody, except this time it's the NI that's the object, and the SI is responsive. Now let's look at NI as an agent. Knowing when a plan or song or story, etc. is doomed to fail or sure to succeed, or what's wrong with it, if there's something simple. Just being correct about stuff that's holistic. Now, NIFE is typically much more correct about holistic stuff regarding aesthetics. NITE is typically much more correct about holistic stuff regarding external systems, dynamic systems, not linguistic. So, of course, the risk for both of them is to over-identify patterns from random data movements in the noise. If you are seeking very badly to prove that, I didn't really lose the election or something, then you will find little patterns of data in the noise that are consistent with your position and claim that you've got good reason to think that's true. That's just NI run amok. So hopefully this helps clarify that when we talk about cognitive functions, it's important to remember that we talk about them from these three different angles and that we attend to them via these three different angles. How comfortable you are with utilizing a function as a subject, an agent, an object depends both where it is in your stack and what kind of function it is.
Wrap-up time. Haka-chaka-da-da.
Okay, so hopefully that clarifies things, and if it doesn't, well, maybe the next one will. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. Hopefully you like this video. Thanks.
Talking with famous people.